starting to record, okay? Okay, we started. Okay, guys, let's start our lecture, first lecture. Today we will be talking about the general fundamentals of business and economics, okay? I hope you can see the PowerPoint. Yes. So we can start it. Okay. So last week actually we have talked a little bit about this. Why do we study business, right? Why do we? Can you hear me, by the way? Mariam said she can't hear me, but the others can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you, teacher.
Yes.
Okay, Mariam, so you have a problem, I guess, with your connection or your device. So let's continue. If something urgent happens, just write. I try to read your comments at the same time, okay? So yes, last week we talked about businesses impacts on our society. Why should we study business, right? These kind of stuff. And actually, they are at the center of our life today, businesses. So in this lecture, we will talk about some sort of economics based of businesses, right? So I think you are taking some introduction to economics course as well. So maybe you can be familiar or with this jargon, with this concept. At the end of this lecture, you will understand what is the place of businesses, private businesses in economies, okay? So, by the way, can you unmute yourselves? Okay. Let me unmute all of you. Yes. So a business is defined as a profit-seeking activity, okay? So whether you provide a good, a product, good means a product, okay? Good means something that you can sell, which has a substance. That is we call a good. Not the thing as good and bad, okay? Good has the other meaning of a product that you can hold, like this cup of thing or some computer, some car that you can touch that have a substance. And services, that services means that you cannot have it like a cup in your hands, but you pay for them, like tourism, like you are staying at a hotel, let's say, or you take some consultancy from someone, right? So these kind of things that you cannot hold in your hand, but yes, intangible. This is called services. So it could be whether a substance things, which is called gold, goods and services. After you selling that, you need to make a profit. A profit means that you earn some money out of it, okay? So there should be, there are some economic roles of businesses and social roles of businesses. So actually, while you are making some money, at the same time you are meeting some need of the society. For example, we are using electricity in our houses, right? So when we are paying for that, yes, they are making good amounts of profits out of that, but we need that electricity, right? Or think about the supermarkets that you go there, you buy something. Because of you, they can make profit. You cannot find food, you cannot find the basic substances that you need. So at the same time, businesses are necessities of the society. They provide people with jobs, right? I mean, maybe thousands of people are profit-seeking businesses. If they don't exist, many of the people would have economic problems, right? So they pay taxes, they help governments to provide their social contributions, right? And they also Anna, do you want to ask a question? Okay, if you raise a hand, okay, that means you want to ask a question, okay? So please, misclick, okay. There are sometimes there are some connection problems, but I think now it's I think we solved the problem. I think now it's okay. Okay, let's go. So by the help of the businesses, we have a higher standard of living. Okay, without that businesses, we would not have that, right? Actually, profit making is a good tool to motivate people to work on new inventions, right? If there will be no profits, for example, new inventions, new technological inventions may be harder, right? I mean, every year there are new technological devices. Think of your smartphones. Every year they add some new facilities, add some new specialties to your products, right? To able to sell you that. And by the help of this, you can use it with your cell phones. The GPS technology, internet technology, 3G, 5G technologies, and it makes your life very easier, and it makes your life very comfortable. Okay. So this is with the help of the profit. If there is no profit, there will be nothing like that. I mean, we call it standard of living, quality of life. Okay. So if people who earn money, okay, can buy the necessary amount of the goods and services they need in their lives, it means that they have a good quality of life. If they cannot do that, they have a poor quality of life. So it is actually very important in our daily life, our quality of life, right? We talking about unemployment problems, the political things, public wealth, all of these are very important, and people need to make money, and people need to you're writing something, but I think most of you can hear me. Okay. Yes, if you can mute me in your devices, you cannot hear me as well. That's right. Okay, this is the quality of life. I mean, it refers to general well-being of society in terms of the political freedom, education, healthcare, safety, free time, and satisfaction of life, joy, everything you can put it down. And businesses actually are contributing it to a lot of it, right? I mean, think about the old times in the history, right? I mean, it is said that only kings and very rich people can eat more than one food in a day, I mean, one type of food in a day these days, because people were very poor, right? Only kings or very rich feudals or very rich tradesmen can find big tables full of food that they can choose and eat. But when you look at your life today, I mean, when you can go out, you can access the food very cheaply, right? And you have many choices when you go to markets, when you go to the restaurants, and average people who have an average income can eat properly, can find food, can find joy, right? Can find leisure times. For example, think about holidays, right? I mean, before 100 years ago, holidays are very, how can I say, very rare thing that only rich people can do it, access it, can have an access to it, right? Going to holiday. But now it becomes a necessity, it becomes a tradition for us for every year, or maybe twice a year, or 3 times a year, we want to go somewhere. Okay. Yes, Ali, you can ask questions. So this will be with the help of the businesses, with the help of the industry, with the help of the capitalization and everything. Now we have a high quality of life when we compare to old parts of history, right? So Businesses could be work, business mentality could be applied on two things. It could be for profit, right? Making some profit to its shareholders, to its owners, right? To make them rich. This is the main motive of the most of the businesses. And there could be some businesses, some part of organizations who are not for profit, not for profit organizations. So it is not the motive of the business, but they use profits again. I mean, generally there is a misunderstanding that, for example, there are some foundations that we call vakıf, right? Dernek, these kind of things, or some non-profit organizations. They actually need, again, making profits to continue their operations, right? But their main motive is not making profits. Okay, please unmute yourselves, guys. Okay, if you don't talk, unmute yourselves. Because sometimes I'm hearing your breathings, this kind of a thing, right? Okay, I muted you all. If you want to talk, you can unmute yourself again. So let's continue. Okay, non-profit organizations are such an example, mainly government organizations, right? Public universities, like our university, right? Our university is not a profit-seeking university, right? Actually, we are making losses to the government, okay? Because they are us, government are paying us, government are paying the electricity of the buildings, right? Everything, and actually we are not getting any money from students, any payment, so it's creating a loss. Actually, when you think in the profit mentality, it's a loss for the organization. But government has a higher purpose here. They want to provide education freely to their people, to the people, to the you guys. So it's a non-profit organization. Okay. So dernek, actually the dernek means foundation in English. Then we call them generally NGOs, non-governmental organizations. Okay. So non-profit organizations could have different forms. One of them is non-governmental organizations, which are like, maybe you know them, Tema Vakfı, Kızılay Vakfı, right? Or other kind of non-governmental organizations. And government institutions, also non-government, non-profit organizations, right? Like universities, hospitals, schools. These are non-profit organizations. There are organizations because we need to operate again. We have some goals we need to achieve, right? We need to have a good performance as a university or as a hospital. We are organizations, but our main motive is providing a public wealth, public good, public service. Okay, not making profits. This is the main difference between a profit organization and non-profit organization. We will talk about this in detail, the types of non-profit organizations, but for now, know that there are mainly two types of non-profit organizations. One is non-governmental organizations who wants to work for a good purpose, like Tema or Serçe, kind of stuff, and others, the government organizations. Okay. Sometimes we call it social entrepreneurship as well. People who use businesses, start new businesses for meeting some social problems, for answering some social problems. We will go into the details. So as we said before, there are two main different businesses. Very summarized version of it. Some sort of businesses are producing goods, some others are producing services. Okay, so think about the factories who produce electricity devices, right? These are actually production industries, right? Producing something, some goods. Think about this: the malls, shopping malls, the restaurants, and the hospitality industry. I mean, by hospitality tourism industry, right? They are selling some services. They are generally labor intensive, while goods producing is capital intensive. So in goods producing, there are different sectors as well. Manufacturing means producing something. Construction means building up buildings, houses, households. Agriculture and mining, these are producing some substance good. And service sectors, wholesale, retail trade, which means markets, right? Market selling. Transportation, utilities, the buses, trains, flights, these are also service sector. Financing sectors, banks, these are one of the biggest sector in the service sector. Actually, banks are selling you a service, right? They are not selling you anything. They give you money, they provide you some investments, but it's a service. We can think startup. Generally, we name startups, Mohammed, as entrepreneurship. There are social entrepreneurship means they start up their businesses for a social purpose, for not profit making, but for a social purposes. So startups are generally for-profit entrepreneurship, who wants to make money and be rich. But social entrepreneurship, for example, you want to help the animals in IBU, Esenboğa campus, right? The dogs, they are, because there is no students there, they need to be food, they need to be eat something. So if you, for example, start up a student club or start up an initiative to raise some money, to fund some money and buy some food to the dogs, it's a social entrepreneurship, right? Again, you need to find some money, some resources, and you need to, for example, find a car. You need to put it into gas and to go to school. So there are some financial things that you need to do. But your purpose is to just feed the poor dogs there. So it's a social entrepreneurship, okay? I will upload, everyone is asking these questions. I will upload these slides on the system, okay? So when we look at the Turkish economy, the Turkey's economy, we see that more than half of our economy is based on service sector. What are those? Banking, right? Wholesaling, trades. I mean, by trade we are buying and selling. Markets are actually not producing the goods, right? You go there and you just buy it. They are buying from the factories or some fields, some villages, and bring it here and sell to you. It's a service. So they constitute more than half of our economy. Industry are more 27%, and agriculture is only 6% of our economy, okay, according to the last year's GDP. So the service sector is growing, okay. Before moving on, that volunteer work is an example of social entrepreneurship. Volunteer work is not a social entrepreneurship. Maybe the institutions who provide you that volunteering opportunity is a social entrepreneurship, okay? But if you go to work in a vakıf or in a dernek, in an NGO, you will not be a social entrepreneur. You will be a volunteer, okay? Entrepreneurship means you initiated that service, you initiated that business, okay? Okay. The service sector is growing, we said. Actually, it means more disposable income. By disposable income, we mean that the income, we pay some taxes out of our incomes, right? We have some money earned out of our jobs, salaries, but we need to pay some taxes on that. After that, we have some amount of money. We call it disposable income, okay? And then the lifestyle actually is changing. People wants to go and spend their time within some cafes, within some restaurants, shopping malls, or they want to go to cinema or leisure times. These are all have our service sector, okay? It's related to service, and it's growing. They demand it. So what about economics? So economics mentality, in the classical terms, guys, think about it in the macro levels, okay? By macro levels, I mean think it at the Turkish economy level. So we have a country, we have a beautiful country, we have our resources, we have our people, we have all the natural resources out there, and we have the needs of the people on the other side. So we call it demand, okay? We need electricity, we need energy, okay? We need food, we need houses, we need cars, right? There are huge list of needs that a community, people need, right? So how can we meet these needs? By using our scarce resources, right? Because our resources are not infinite, are not endless, right? I mean, yes, we have some energy resources, but they are not limited. They are limited. We have some natural resources, but they are limited. So how can we arrange this economic system to meet all of our needs? Okay. This is what economics is about. Okay, do you want to ask something? Some of you? Onurcan, can you? Okay, I'm muting you. Okay. Yes, macroeconomics is at that level, and microeconomics is the household level. Okay, you think about your families. When we say macroeconomics, we think about the Turkish economy in general. But when we talk about microeconomics, we talk about the households. How can you make your living in your lives, in your homes, right? Okay, this is microeconomics. Yes, so all societies must deal with these 4 basic economic questions. 1, how should limited sources be used to satisfy society's needs, as I said before? What kind of goods and services we need to produce, right? Who should produce them? And how this production should be divided among the population. These are all critical questions, right? So there are many theories on economic development. Okay, Adam Smith is one of the most famous one who talk about this. And the secret is something like that. I mean, businesses helps us. Guys, please unmute yourselves. Okay. Every time I try to unmute you. Who is talking? Who is talking? Okay. Since it's a very crowded Teams meeting, guys, it took me time to unmute you because there are some delays. Okay. Yes. So the secret of the economic development can be summed up in the saying: give a man fish, and you feed him for business actually requires that. Okay, government cannot look after each of us, right? Every one of us. So when you find up a business, when you provide some amount of people their jobs, actually you are taking the burden of the government to yourself, right? Because you're opportunity to create a wealth, to create a growth in the general economy. Okay, so Adam Smith believed in that. If you let everyone to work in the market conditions, okay, if you do not intervene, if you just let them to whatever they want to do, there is an invisible hand which is not seen, who just shape the economy where it should be. Okay, this is the invisible hand is a phrase. This describes a process that turns the gain into social and economic benefits for all. Okay. So it means that a person working hard to make money for his or his own personal interests would also benefit others. For example, a farmer trying to make money, will grow as many as crops as possible because he wants to make more and more money. And by this way, actually, he's providing jobs and food for the others, right? I mean, think that this farmer is a huge farm, and he has some workers, so they give them some money, they give them some job opportunities. And also he produces many foods. We need that food to eat, to survive, right? So it is the benefit for all, not only his personal interests. So if everyone worked hard in his self-interest, Adam Smith said that society would grow, would benefit from that, okay? This is what we call an invisible hand. And it's say that don't intervene into the economy, okay? Just leave it, because when everyone works for his self-interest, they will also contribute to the societal well-being. So think about it as a circular model here. On the one hand, there are households, your families, you living families, and some businesses. So households actually provide the businesses the inputs, the factors of production we call, the people who need to work, right? I mean, if there is no workers, you cannot produce your products and you cannot sell it, you cannot make profits. So you need people to work in your product. And actually, on the other hand, also households are your customers, right? They are buying your products. For example, think about Hyundai, think about Toyota, Mercedes. They are producing cars. If there were no customers who to buy them, they will fail. They will be unsuccessful, right? So they are important. At the same time, businesses actually give the opportunity to the households to live better, to reach their needs, right? They are making them pay, and they give them a wealth. And they also provide the necessary goods and services. I want to buy a car. I cannot build it myself, right? I don't have that opportunity. I don't have that knowledge. Or I want to use internet. How can I know that? The technical background of it, right? But when I call Türk Telekom or any other company, they are coming into my house. They are building all the networks, and it's working. So it's good for me. And I can buy this technology at a cheap price, right? If I try to invent it, it's impossible, but they provide me with that. So there is a circular relation between households and businesses, the society and businesses. You can think that they both actually contributing to their development, okay? So what are these factors of production that we talk about here? As you can see at the gray arrow, input factors of production. What are some of these? One of them is natural resources, like land, forest, minerals, water, that we all need, right? That we can find on the nature. The other one is we call human resources, which means who will work, right? For example, you want to open up a company, open up a factory. You need some engineers, you need some workers, you need some financiers, right? If there are no people in that town, in that country, how can you find them, right? Capital refers to money and machines and tools and buildings. We call them capital. Entrepreneurs are like Bill Gates and Ali Sabancı, who are willing to take risks and create new businesses. And knowledge. Knowledge is very important. Think about Elon Musk, who builds new companies based on new technology, new knowledge, right? So what the businesses are doing, taking all these factors of production, processing them, and selling them. This is a businesses, what a business is. These factors of production is out there, okay? You can also reach them, right? But taking them, processing them, and turning them into a sellable product, right? This is what a business is. Yes, SpaceX. Yes. Types of economic systems. Actually, this is important because businesses are at the center of our economy, yes, but how can we make a balance between society and businesses, right? There are different views on that. Let's see. Actually, there are two main ideas in here. One is free market system, as Adam Smith says. Okay, don't intervene into the market. Just let them process. The second one is the planned systems, like communism, right? The government, the state should monitor all of the production, should own all of the production. So, as you can see on that graphic, okay, the control level actually different in the economic systems. So while communism says that the market should be controlled, highly controlled, and maybe there will be no ownership, no private ownership, the state should own everything. While capitalism says that there is no need for a state to control us, right? Just let them do it. And there are some mixed systems like socialism or other systems. We will talk about this. So capitalism, or we at the same time call it free market system, says that everyone can have a right to ownership. Okay, they can own, and ownership is something like a holy thing. Okay, in capitalist markets. For example, in the States of America, you can kill someone who tried to attack your property, right? And no one asks you why did you kill that guy. Maybe you see in the American films that they have a farm, right? When someone enters that farm, they are just going out and killing that guy, okay? And they don't need to ask, why are you here? Just because you are attacking his property. He owned that farm, he owned that property, and he can protect it. So ownership is some kind of a holy thing in that kind of countries, okay? Because it's the main essence of the society. And they focus on profit making. So people have a right to choose their jobs. They can move their jobs, change their jobs, they are free. They can decide what to produce, how to produce, and whom to sell. Okay? We can give the example of USA, Germany, Japan, Canada as a free market systems. At the right-hand side, the communism system, they have very planned systems. State owns everything. There is no profits. That just states centrally decides every production, every industrial decisions. They have it. Actually, Soviet Russia has collapsed, but now we can see just very few examples of it, like North Korea and Cuba. But actually, they are not really communism. They are just different management systems they have. But before 90s, before in the times of after the Second World War, communism actually have constituted the half of the world, almost half of the world were governed by communist countries. Okay, and socialism actually is something in between. Okay, state, they think that okay, if we just let everyone do anything they want, it's a problematic area, right? Because when some part of the society is becoming more powerful, more rich, they can somehow exploit others, right? If you let every industry, every business to make whatever they want, to produce whatever they want, they can produce something dangerous, right? They can use people, they can exploit people. So they said that we need private industries, but some of the industries should be owned by the government. For example, think about health sector in Turkey, right? And in the United States. Maybe you heard about this in the news that in United States, going to a hospital is a very expensive thing, okay? You just have a, for example, problem and go to hospital. If you don't have an insurance, they will just want you hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? You cannot, it's free for all. So yes, we have a free market out there in Turkey, right? That you can operate, you can start up businesses, you can earn money, you can make profits, but some major industries are owned by states, like education as well, right? We have many universities, government-owned, government universities. But you cannot see in the US, okay? If you want to go to a college in the US, you need to pay it. You need to take some loans, credits, and when you start to work, you are repaying it again. So it's kind of a different perspectives here you are. And we can see in socialism, states actually controls the private sector in behalf of in the benefit of the society. Okay, Sweden, UK, France, we can give that examples. Okay, because they want to protect some social aspect of the economy. So this is why we call it socialism. Yes, socialism. Actually, we talk about this. There's a one problem with socialism actually. Okay, first talk about the benefits of it. So wealth is evenly distributed among the people. Okay, so income is taken from the wealthier people and redistributed to the poorer members of the population. Workers in socialist countries are given free education, free healthcare, free childcare, and more employee benefits. There's very good things for the employee sides, for the people sides. But they give some equality, but they take away some incentives. In some countries, in some socialist countries, tax rates is reached up to 85%. I mean, so it is against the nature and the soul of the private enterprise, right? For example, you are working, you are making money, and you just give the very big proportion of it to the government. So why would you do that? And since it's a global economy, since you can move your production to other parts of the world very easily, you can run away from these countries. Actually, it's not a company, but you know Gerard Depardieu, right? A famous actor, French actor. He changed his nationality into Russia or Ukraine, I don't remember very well, because of these taxes. Because the French government wanted tax rates applied to him up to maybe 60-70% of his wealth, okay, of his income. And he said that, okay, I am not stupid, okay, I am French, but I don't want to give my own money to government. So he changed his nationality and become a Russian, okay, to pay less taxes. So actually, this is a very big problem because economies need businesses, economies need entrepreneurs, right? For example, in Turkey, we also all say that, for example, we need entrepreneurs, right? We need new investments to grow. We need economically growth. We need to make exports, right? Who will do that? Some private companies, right? If as a government you say that I will take your income, half of your income or more than half of your income, they will run away. They will open up their businesses in some other country where tax rates are very low, okay? And these systems can result, because of that, fewer inventions and less innovation. Communism, yes, there are no real examples of it, but what were the problems of, for example, Soviet Russia in that times? So all of the economic decisions are made by a central authority, okay? So it is very hard for government to know what is the supply, what is the demand. For example, government decides what you need. Government decides what you eat. Government decides what you dress, right? It is impossible. So there is no business people in communism. So everything was owned by governments. So today they are suffering severe economic depressions like North Korea and Cuba. Some countries such as Venezuela moved toward communism. The former Soviet Union moved toward free markets. Now Russia is very low tax level. You can see 13%. So it's lower than the US has. And they are actually giving a message to the global companies, come to our country and invest in our country, right? And there are some mixed economies, okay? How can you name Turkey when you think? You can write on the teams. What is our economic model, do you think? Where are we? Are we more capitalistic? Are we more socialistic socialistic country? Which one? Liberalism, yes. Socialism. We are more capitalistic. Yes, between. Actually, we are in between, right? We are in between. We cannot say that we are a full free market because government, in some sectors, not every sector, but in some industries, government actually control, they have a very high control, like defense industry, health industry, education industry. They are more like socialist countries in that respect. Um, but in many respects, we are actually giving incentives to new entrepreneurs. We are calling for, yes? You want to say something? Someone just. Okay, Buse, no problem. So, social state and socialist state is different thing, yes. The social state is a perspective that the state should meet the basic needs of the society. A capitalist country also have this. Actually, there is no pure capitalist country in the anywhere of the world. I mean, even in America, government actually meet some basic needs of the society, right? They need to do that. They need to have a social understanding of the state. So they're in between. But when you think about that, Turkey is more a state-controlled industries and just in between, right? Yes, a combined. Yes. Okay. Let's go to demand and supply. What are these concepts? Demand and supply is a very basic economic concept. And there are some questions on that in the quizzes. So demand, refer to the quantity of good or service the consumer want to buy. Okay. For example, think. Okay, wait. Hussein. Someone want to join the class. I need to accept that. Okay. Yes. Think about that. I'm asking you a question. I am selling, let's say, some cell phones or some smartphones, and I'm asking who want it in our class. Okay, we are a class more than 300 people, and 100 of the people are asked to buy that new smartphone. Okay, it is our demand. It is our class's demand. Okay? In very simple terms, think about apply it to the Turkish economy. Okay, and what's the supply then? And I just collected your demands. There are 100 smartphone demands in our class, and there's a company out there waiting for the production. They will produce it. Let's say Samsung, okay? And they say that I can produce only 50 smartphones. Okay? Now you see that there is a demand, 100 smartphones, and there is a production 50, only 50, half of it. So what would be the prices that you think? What would Samsung do? They would sell their smartphones at a cheap price or relatively higher price when demand is higher than the supply. High, right? Yes. Why? Because there are very less production, very high demand, right? So, for example, they can charge you more, price really high. Yes. Think about the face masks when the first coronavirus has started, right? They were selling it with huge prices, right? Because there are no face masks, and they were selling it 5 Turkish liras per one, only one. But now you can find it for 50 kurush, right? So there were too much demand, but there were very less supply, very less production. Then there's a unequilibrium, there's an unbalance between that. Okay, if we think about the example on the other side, think about that. Only 10 people want a new smartphone, and Samsung came, Apple came, Huawei came, Xiaomi came. Okay, they all came. They want to sell their products, and they have hundreds of smartphones in their stocks. So what will be the prices then? Prices will be low, right? Because they are competing for the very same customers. There are very less demands and there are huge production. They want to sell it, and they want to sell at the lower prices. So it's a very basic introduction of demand and supply. So in the economic terms, we can see it like that in that graph. Okay. So when demand and supply meets, okay, when they meet, we call it an equilibrium point. It's the right price. So the supply and demand is equal to each other, so it is the right price. When there is not enough supply or when there is not enough demand, there will be an equilibrium. Okay. We call them shortages and surplus. Okay. Think about our first example. There is a shortage because there were huge demands, but not enough supply of the smartphones, so there's a shortage. Think about our second example. There's a less demand but huge production, so we call it a surplus. Okay, so these are actually the main mentality of the economy. Economy is about managing this. If you have a surplus, you need, for example, for these companies, they come to our class and they want to sell their products, but only 10 smartphones they can sell. What they need to do, they need to go to other classes and ask them again, right? In our university, do you want to buy our product? Because we have many left our stock, we need to sell them. Think it in the country level. Okay, you produce the products in Turkey, you sold in the domestic market, you sold in the Turkish market, and you just meet the demand. But you have many surplus, you have many products left, you need to sell it to the international, right? Other countries, going to other countries. This is the basics of surplus and shortage. Actually, I have told this, you don't need to go over again. So there is another thing in the free market, which we call it competition. Okay, competition means that how many suppliers exist. Okay, how many suppliers exist. In our first example, there were only one supplier, which is Samsung, let's say. And think about that, in all over the world, only Samsung are producing smartphones. Okay, which we call them a monopoly. Okay, so only they are producing that, and we have to go to buy from them. There are no other companies that are producing that product. It's a risky thing, right? There will be no competition because they can sell their products whatever price they want because they are monopoly. So in free market, we don't like monopolies. In free market competition system, we want more and more companies. Okay. So when we move to right of that graphic, there's a perfect competition where there were many of the companies who can produce the same thing. In our reality today in the smartphone industry, you can buy products from Apple, Samsung, Huawei, Xiaomi, Vestel, right? So there are many companies you can select. So there are when they compete to each other, they can provide you cheaper products, right? So it will be the benefit of the society. So we love it. We love it. Perfect competition. Like as an example for agricultural market, right? I mean, you don't need to go to make a bargaining while you are buying some potatoes, right? I mean, it's everywhere. You can buy it from anyone. Oh, but monopoly, there is only one product in a given market. Actually, tekel is a good example of it in the history of Turkey. Once upon a time, there were no international cigarettes. Okay, then the tobacco industry were all owned by the governments. Tekel. Okay. Oligopoly means that industry is dominated only a few producers. Like you can think about the communication industry, Turkcell, Avea, Vodafone, right? They have the industry in their hands, and they have oligopoly industry. I mean, it's very hard for you to open up a new company, and I want to be like a Turkcell, like Vodafone, right? It requires huge investments, and it's very hard. Monopolistic competition, large number of sellers, none can dominate the market. You can think about the fast food sector. Burger King and McDonald's in all over the world, right? They are competing to each other. We have an important concept here, competitive advantage, which means that a company is better than its rivals, its competitors, in terms of its production, in terms of its prices, in terms of their quality, okay? In terms of the innovation. For example, there are so many smartphone companies, but none of them are as successful as Apple, right? Why do you think is that? Why Apple is more successful than others? You can write your thinkings. Why do you think iPhones, Apple products, they are different, their quality, right? Because of their commercials. iPhones are more stable, yes. High security, safer than the others. So as you can see that you are naming some specialties, right? That others, differentiation, yes, that others cannot imitate, that others cannot redo it, okay? It's very hard for them to do that, right? Think about Vestel. Do you think that they can, even if they can produce a product which is more quality, which is more having more specialties than iPhone, they could sell it with the same price as iPhone? No, right? So what is the price of new iPhones? Have you heard about this in Turkish prices? It's more than 20,000 Turkish liras, right? Yes. So how come they can charge that amount of money, right? I mean, it's a product, just a product. This is because of their competitive advantage, okay? This is what it is. Think about Apple when you think competitive advantage. I mean, actually, when you consider their costs, okay, how they produce that product, maybe it is very close to other their rivals. For example, Samsung also produced that product, iPhone also produced that product. Their costs for per product, let's say, is $50 for both. While Apple is selling that to $1,000, Samsung can sell it at $500. So this is a competitive advantage. Okay. If they are the same price, think about the lower ones, okay, like Vestel, Xiaomi, this kind of. What are some limits, some disadvantages of the free markets? The free market allows open competition among companies. They provide opportunity for everyone to build up business, everyone to be rich. So you heard the term of American dream, right? So everyone could be rich in America. It's an opportunity country. However, it's not the case for everyone, right? Only very small proportion of them can make it. It creates inequalities between those who gained and those who are not able to do that. And greed, when you put so much emphasis on self-interest, there are unethical practices. And to limit that, there are some government regulations are necessary for that, okay? How can governments intervene in that free market system? By some laws and regulations, they can do it. By contributing to the economic stability, they can do it, okay? And by spending for the public good. I mean, they are taking some taxes from businesses and they can spend it for the public good. Okay, then we can move on to key terms to understanding the economy. Gross domestic product, what are these? Gross domestic product is the sum of all goods and services produced for final use by companies located in a country during a specific period, usually a year. It's the gross domestic product. The gross national product excludes the production from foreign-owned businesses, okay? It is produced in Turkey, but it's produced by foreign companies. So this is, we exclude them and then we have gross national product. Inflation is a rise in the prices of goods and services throughout the economy. It's a very big problem in Turkey today. We all actually are living that. Every year, every month, the prices are going up, but your income is at the same level. So it's a very big problem for the economy, raising inflation, and actually governments are trying to find ways to stop inflation. When the inflation begins trying to begins declining, we call them disinflation. Okay, inflation go to 20% and then going back to 10%, 5%. We call it disinflation. Deflation, on the other hand, is falling in general price level, goods or services. Actually, it's an unfamiliar idea for us, but in some countries like Japan, in Germany, actually there are some prices are falling down. It's also a bad thing for the economy, okay? Because it's affecting the growth of the economy. Consumer price index is a basket of goods, clothing, food, and utilities over a period of time, and they are inflation based on this. I mean, inflation, for example, is measured through a set of goods and services, not only one. Okay, for example, there's a price increase in the fuel oils, diesels, or gas, natural gas, right? It's just one factor. What are other factors? Food, our rents, clothing industry. So this consumer price index is the general average of these all inflations. Business cycle. Business cycle is about the periodic rises and falls, okay, in over time. Okay, we have very we have a little one in our meeting. Okay, I want to mute you. I'm sorry, Buse. Okay. So a recession, there are 4 phases of business cycles. Economic boom means that there is a strong business activity. There is a increased growth in the economy. A recession, there is a decline in the GDP. A depression is a very big recession, very big decline. And a recovery is when you are at the lowest level, you become to recover yourself. Okay, so you can see a recession cycle. In the first quarter, you are good. Second quarter, you are good. But in the third and fourth quarters of the year, you have a downturn in your GDP. It's a recession. It's a depression. It's a major downturn. Okay. And these are not that important. We can move on. And global economic challenges. So now economy is a global thing. Okay. It's not only a national thing. It's a global thing. So you need to produce quality products and services, not ordinary ones. You need to start and manage small businesses. Small businesses are actually very important for the overall health of the public. So there are culturally diverse workforce, and ethics are important, which we will be talking in the next week. And technology, e-commerce, they are all very important. So as you can see in that, lastly, our last slide, in that you see the richest man in the world. Okay, so in our in today's, you can see that the capitalistic free market economy have created many richest men, wealthy men in the world. But there are some inequalities, right? I mean, these people actually, when you sum up their wealth together, it is more than half of the people's. Sorry, Mahmoud, I want to mute you. It's more than very. I mean, some part of the world are living in very bad conditions, but some part of the world, very small part of people, actually enjoying very much wealth. So this we call it is a difference between the income levels. It's a very problematic area as well. But next week we will be talking about this. Okay, guys. Do you have any questions for this week? Hamza, no problem. Presentations are enough for studying next week and midterm. Actually, I will be uploading presentations after the course every week. So you need to start, you need to study the chapters, and you need to study the lecture notes. Calculus for Business classes be lecturing by Muhammed Emin
Teacher?
Karabaca. Yes.
Teacher, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you upload this slide to IBUSM?
Yes, yes, I will.
But not to PDF. This slide. Slide formatting.
No, not slide formatting. PDF formatting, I can do that.
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Welcome. No
I have question, teacher.
For next week, you will study for the next week stuff. Let me open up the syllabus.
Teacher?
Yes, yes.
I want to ask you about the lectures and the chapters. What we have to study? Both of them or just one is enough?
I don't understand your question.
We have on syllabus said for example, week 3, read chapter 4, lecture note 2.
Yes.
Do we have to study
read
both of them or just one enough?
No, you need to read both of them, okay?
Both of them. The chapters is in the book, yeah?
Chapter in the book and lecture note. Lecture note is kind of a summary of what we talked today, right? And chapter is more detailed. So chapter is better. If you can read chapter, that is better. But lecture note can help you to also see the summary. So guys, you are asking me the same questions. I get too many emails. Please just look at the syllabus, okay? For each week, actually, I have written what you need to do. Week 1 and 2, what we said. Maybe next week we don't have any quiz, okay? Maybe week 3 we have a quiz.
Teacher? Hello?
Yes.
Teacher, I want to ask you something.
Yes.
In IBUSM, I can't say my courses for my lessons.
Okay, you
Today
need to show.
In the morning, I registered.
Okay, today you registered the course. It's too late.
Yeah.
So they will register you by time. Okay.
Okay. And I will wait. Yeah, right?
Yes, yes. You need to wait. You need to wait. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Let's do it like that. I will prepare a note for you guys, okay, on the IBUSM system. So when will be each quizzes are, okay. So for each week, which quizzes, which part, and I will upload it to the IBUSM system so you can see it, okay. Because now it's complicated for you guys, but on the system you can see when is which quiz, so you can see that. You can follow up there. Okay. Yes, Hussein, you have everything on IBUSM. Any other questions? I will let you know for next week. There will be most probably a quiz again, okay? Okay, I am stop recording.